I just need you guys to know that when I was doing my makeup this morning, a like brush bristle went into my eyeball and I literally can't see. I can't see anything. Hey guys, what's up? It's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, and if you've come back, thank you so much. Today, you guys, we are doing the beginning of year book tag, which I'm very excited to do. I do believe Bestie Larry originated this one here, so I will tag her video down below. She actually just did her one for this year a couple days ago, I think, too. So all credit, of course, goes to her. So yeah, you guys, this is going to be a cute little like start to the new year, what my goals are, what some of my anticipated releases are, what I've got my eye on, what series I want to read this year, priority reads, you know, favorite authors and things like that to kick off the new year. I'm very excited. I've got all my questions written down here because, you know, your girl can't with technology today. So without further ado, you guys, let's get comfy, let's get cozy, and let's get right on into the video. All right, so as I said to you guys, I've got my questions here. I believe there are 18 questions. And I've got them all here and I've got some books and things like that. So question number one is, how many books are you planning on reading in 2025? So I have sort of made a few videos in the past talking about, I guess, like reading goals and things like that. Before I even get into that jargon, I really dislike all of the negativity around reading goals with people being like, you know, I can't believe this person read this many books. That's way too many. Or like, I only read this many, like that's not enough. And it's like, no, everybody is different. Everybody has different reading paces. Everybody has different lives and spare time, work commitments and things like that. So we all read at different paces. We all have different, you know, availability when it comes to reading and downtime. So like, I think if you read one book in a year, that is fantastic. If you read 250 books a year, incredible again. I just don't like the whole competition of it all. That being said, this year I decided to set my reading goal to 70. I set it to 60 last year and I ended up reading 93. I set it to 70 because I feel like that's achievable in the way that like, I don't want to read excessively this year. So because this is my job and I do this for work, I'm obviously reading quite a lot. And I feel like for myself, 70 books is plenty. Even if I don't reach that, that's fine, because this year I want to prioritize quality over quantity. Like, I feel as though last year reading the 93 books, I read so many books that I just didn't enjoy. I didn't really give 5 stars, and then I didn't really have like great recommendations to give you guys because all the books I was reading was pretty average. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video in terms of like the types of books that I want to be reading this year. If I read like 20 really good books this year, I'll be happy. If I read 10 really good books this year, I'll be happy. Question number 2 is a book that you're likely to reread this year. And I have a few. There was a few books on my like rereads list that I really want to read, but the 4 that I've got here, I actually like most likely to reread these ones because that's what the question is obviously asking. So the first one I have is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. You guys know this is one of my favorite books of all time. I talk about it till the cows come home. I think I'm like associated with it very deeply now. I usually reread this book once a year. However, this like last year just gone, it fully slipped my mind and my time. And again, that's a thing that like, I feel like as a reader, you don't always have to read new books. I feel like rereading some of your favorites is so special. And I love this book very much. That's one of them. Then I have Heartless by Elsie Silver, which as you guys know, is one of my favorite books ever. These 4 are like some of my favorite books ever. I love this one so much. The main reason that I want to reread this book this year is because obviously now Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver is my favorite book by her ever. I think it was fantastic. But before that book came along, this was my favorite and it like had never been dethroned. So I definitely want to reread this one because I want to see, you know, how I feel in comparison to Wild Eyes. But I just love this story so much. I like cry. I remember when I book journaled this, would have been 2 years ago now, when I sat down to actually journal it, like I was crying. Like that's how much I love this story. Then I have The Right Move by Liz Tomford, and I'm definitely rereading this year because for some reason when I read it, I didn't annotate it. And it is one of my favorite books, again, of all time. And the fact that I don't have it here to like hug and cry and scream and throw up and, you know, look at the quotes and things like that when I need to is embarrassing. So I definitely want to do that this year because you guys know the Windy City series is one of my favorite series of all time. And finally, off the bat of the incredible Twisted news we got in the last couple of days, I want to reread Twisted Games. This was always in my list to reread this year, but I love this book so much. This is like a Roman Empire book for me, and I want to reread it because I want to see if it still holds up, because I said this in my TikTok video, but this was a book that I read when I first like got back into reading, and specifically reading like adult romance books last, it would have been 2022, so 3 years ago now. Oh my god. And it's obviously like when you first start reading a certain genre and it's new to you, because you don't really have anything to compare it with, you rate it quite high. So obviously I gave this 5 stars and it's incredible, but I still want to see. I think out of the Twisted series as a whole, this one just stands out, not only from like a quality point of view, but I feel like it's just so different to the other 3 books in the series. Like I feel like it's its entire own like beast. Do you guys feel that if you've read this book? And it's so special. So that's definitely like my top 4. I am rereading them this year. Question number 3 is a priority read on your 2025 TBR. And I think you guys know what they're going to be before I even hold them up. Because I get questions about this particular book and this particular series on my videos every single time I post. The first one is, of course, Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. And the reason I know you guys love this book so much, I think it's because last year I put this on a few of my monthly TBRs and I just did not get around to it. And I personally feel like the biggest reason for that is the size of this bad boy. Like this book is 787 pages. So that's quite a big book. And look, I'm saying this now, but I just started reading Heat of the Everflame on my Kindle and that is 1,026 pages. Pray for me. I don't want it to end, but I'm also like, anyway, I'll get into that later. That's gonna be my new favorite series ever. Anyways, Binding and Keeping 13, Boys of Tommen is a big series and it's very popular. And I know a lot of people want my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on them. So this is a high priority. Do not hold me to this. Do not hold me to this. If it comes to February and y'all try to come for me, I didn't say it. But I am planning to most likely, God, I'm gonna regret this, to most likely do a reading vlog in February because it's Valentine's Day. I'm gonna be doing a reading vlog, reading Binding and Keeping 13. I do not own the other books in this series yet because I want to read the first 2 to see if I like them. So in February, I promise, Binding and Keeping 13 are coming and I'm doing reading vlogs for you guys because I know that you want to see my thoughts and feelings and reactions. I do know that I will love this book and this series so much because I'm a sucker for emotional romances. I feel like I needed the time and to be in the right headspace to read these because if I read this like coming out of a book slump or where I was like fatigued, like mentally for reading, I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I would like to. So I feel like a fresh year called for this and like in February doing romances. I'm pretty much only going to read romances. We'll see if I hold myself to that. Pretty much only going to read romances in February. And the other 2 books that are very high on my 2025 TBR like priority is Part of Your World and Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Now, Yours Truly is part of a reading challenge that I'm doing this year. If you guys didn't see my TikTok videos, I just want to quickly say before I get into this, obviously the TikTok ban is looming in the US and I'm going to be losing quite a few of my beautiful US followers. So for anybody who has, because I did make a post about it, if anyone's just joined from TikTok or over my Instagram, I just want to let you guys know that I will be posting like all of my TikToks and things on Instagram Reels and I'll try to post them here on YouTube as well. So you won't be losing my face that much. So I did make a video, of course, over on my TikTok explaining that this year I have set a challenge with 12 of my favorite Bookish besties. They're some of your favorite and beloved Bookish gals. I asked them all for like one of their favorite 5-star reads or like a book that they really want me to read. So I picked 12 girls. I'm going to be reading one of their recommendations for like each month of the year. At the end of the year, there's going to be a giant reading vlog. Okay, so Yours Truly made it into that list because the beautiful Freya, you guys should know Freya. If you don't, go and subscribe right now. She recommended Yours Truly. I've had both of these on my radar for a very long time because I just feel like I'm missing out on the hype. So Part of Your World I'll be reading earlier in the year and then Yours Truly I'll be reading in August. Question number 4 is an author you won't be reading more from this year. And this was kind of hard because I feel like a few years ago I had like a lower tolerance for like giving authors a second chance. I don't know why. I think I was just very childish and naive. But I do have a new rule now that like I have like the 3 and you're out sort of thing. So like say I read a book from an author and I don't enjoy it, I am not disregarding them yet as options. I'll be reading a second and a third. So like I'm sure we're all like, especially with some of our favorite authors, sometimes we'll read a book by them that we absolutely love and then the next book we read, it might be pretty average and it's not the best. So I definitely try to give an author 3 chances before I sort of say this author's not for me anymore. I started doing that last year with like Sophie Lark. I read read one of her books the year before and I didn't like it. And then I read another one of hers last year and I absolutely loved it. So I was like, oh, this is so exciting. And there's another author too. But anyways, there is one author that I think I've done the whole 3 strikes and you're out sort of deal. And unfortunately, that is Christina Lauren. I just feel like it's not necessarily that their books are bad or not enjoyable. I just feel like they have so much hype, and like the books that I have read by them now have been a disappointment to me. I'm very particular about the type of romance books that I read and that I actually end up enjoying. So I feel like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like the writing's very average, and I feel like there's other books that I could be reading that are, like, no offense, worth my time. So I don't know if you guys feel that about Christina Lauren. I just feel like most of their books are pretty average, you know? So I don't think I'll be buying any more. I do have some more of their books on my TBR. I'm just not going to go out of my way to reach for them. All right, question number 5 is something new you want to read in 2025. So in terms of like genres and tropes and things like that. So if you guys have been following me since I sort of started my journey over on TikTok a few years ago, I primarily read like adult romance. When I was younger, I read a lot of, you know, YA romantasy and things like that, and dystopian, you know, things we all did as kids, like Hunger Games and Cassandra Clare and things like that, which I loved. However, when I got back into reading again, like I said, 3 years ago, I was primarily reading like adult romances. They were the ones that I loved, and I still obviously love adult romance so much. Last year, I started reading romantasy because I think I was unaware that there was a genre of fantasy that had a very heavy romance plot, and I think that's so important for people who are like primarily romance readers who are afraid of the fantasy genre, because it can be a lot. It's a great transition across, and I didn't realize that sort of would appeal to me. So I ended up like, I obviously started reading things like Fourth Wing and ACOTAR and Serpent in the Wings of Night, and like things like slowly starting to transition across. And then last year I just like went head first, and I love romantasy so much now. So like that is something that I want to do more of this year. I noticed so much at the beginning of this year, right? So I have now read 4 books. It's like the, what day is it? It's the 13th of January. I've read 4 books so far, and I'm currently reading a 5th. And as I said, it is over 1,000 pages, which is insanity. But anyways, the first book that I read this year was Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I was very graciously sent an early copy of that book, and it's a very highly anticipated release for me. I loved it. I read it, but I think it was like, you know, when you read a book that you know you're gonna love, but you're not in the mood for it. Like that's where I feel like I was, because I think I was a bit burnt out on romance. So I read Deep End. I still enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star. Read Deep End, and I'll give you my like full thoughts on that at the end of the month, because I do think it was a great book. Then I started reading another romance and I DNF'd it because it was just driving me insane. It was also like very dated, but I think I was so stale on the romance that I was like, I need to read romantasy. That's what I'm in the mood for. So I went and I started reading the Kindred's Curse saga. So Spark of the Everflame, Glow of the Everflame. And guys, I am obsessed with these books. I literally cannot stop thinking about them. The fact that I'm reading a 1,000-page book, it's book number 3 right now, is crazy, because I would never, thank God it's available on my Kindle, because it's not been traditionally published in Australia yet, like in paperback. It really just shows that like I crave romantasy now, and I never used to. I feel like the stakes are so much higher in a romantasy book. Like it's the level of escapism. I don't know. I feel like it just opened my world so much. So this year I definitely want to broaden my horizons and make my recommendations not just adult romance. I still obviously love adult romance so much, and that is going to be my primary genre, but I want to make it like a 50-50, like recommendations between romance and romantasy. Like I want to be in the know with a lot more romantasy this year. I also want to start reading some more general fiction, but we'll see how we go with that, because as I mentioned, I really struggle without romance in there sometimes. Okay, question number 6 is a popular book you want to read. So there's 2 that I've got here. These are like very high on my like priority reads for this year. So the first one that I'm going to show you guys is Once Upon a Broken Heart, obviously by Stephanie Garber. So I read Caraval at the end of last year. I read Caraval in like September, and then I finished the series as my last 3 books of the year for last year. So Legendary Finale and The Spectacular Novella, which, what the heck was that? Anyways, I finished that at the end of last year, and I was just itching to jump into this story, because obviously there are characters from the Caraval trilogy who are sort of our main characters in this series, and I'm very excited to get into it, because everybody obviously says that this one's their favorite. They've said it's more romantic, I think, than Caraval, but I'm still at Caraval. Like I'm still there. Like I'm still at the restaurant. I haven't left. I haven't paid the check. Like I still want to be there. But anyways, it's fine. So I really want to read this year. And of course, I need to and want to finish the Throne of Glass series. I'll say it again because I say it every time I bring up this series. When I was in grade 8 or 9 in high school, many years ago, I read the first 2 books. So obviously Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. And then I just sort of forgot about them. I think I fell out of reading at that stage of my life, which is really sad. Maybe they hadn't been published yet. Because I did obviously read these as they were being published. When did they get published? Yeah, 2013. Yeah. So I was reading these as they were being published. Goodness, that was a long time ago. And then I think because obviously like Heir of Fire hadn't come out yet, I just like forgot about it, didn't read it. But I did buy the entire series, even though I didn't continue it. You guys know, as I said, I read ACOTAR last year and I loved it. I think about that series every single day of my entire life. This one is definitely happening this year and it needs to happen, and there will be a reading vlog for Crown of Midnight onwards, spoiler free, because as you guys know, I hate spoilers and you hate spoilers. The Mr. Whippy like ice cream van is just going past my house right now, so if you hear some really cute music, I'm sorry. I also really want an ice cream. Should I go get one? I'm gonna get one. Am I 5 years old? Yes. This is the best. Guys, do you have, I mean, I'm sure you probably have this in America, right? Or like wherever you are in the US, UK. Where are you from? That's a fun question. Where's everybody from? Australia? I'm out of breath. Whew, I walked up the stairs. I chased the ice cream truck. Is it summer or is it summer? In Australia, it's summer, and this means summer. Okay. Question number 7 is, what are your most anticipated releases of 2025? I did a whole video of this as part of Bookmas. I did like all of the anticipated releases that I'm looking forward to this year. There are so many. I'm just gonna tell you guys like my top 4 that I'm the most excited for, because there are so many, as I said. Onyx Storm is obviously like the biggest one that I'm the most excited for. I think the entire world is excited for Onyx Storm. I'm very lucky that I get to go to an early release like midnight party for this, so I'm very excited to get my hands on that. I'm not going on any platforms, okay? Like I'm going full lockdown until I finish this book because people spoil it and it drives me nuts. But up next, I've got Wild Side by Elsie Silver. I was just talking about Wild Eyes. Elsie Silver outdoes herself every single time. Like every time I think that she's done her best book, another one comes and another one comes and another one comes. Like I'm not even joking. So I'm so excited for this one. This one again is set in her like Rose Hill series. This one is Enemies to Lovers and Marriage of Convenience and Single Parent. Okay guys, it's like bang, bang, bang. She wrote this book for me. Those are like my tropes. Okay, so I'm so excited for that. After that, we have Riding the High by Paisley Hope, which is going to be book 3 in the Silver Pine series. If you guys haven't read this, again, this is another small town cowboy romance series. I think you guys know they're my bread and butter. They are my favorites. This one I'm again so excited for because it's always like the 3rd book in these like romance cowboy series that it's always like the 2 characters that don't get along, like the side characters. So I'm so excited for this. It's just going to be delicious. It's Ginger and Cole. And then we have Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. As I was saying, I love the Windy City series so much. It's not funny. This one is finally Rio's story. If you're up to date with this series, you'll know that Rio is a side character that we've been seeing sprinkles of throughout the entire series to date, and it's finally time for his book. It is the 5th and final book in this series, which I'm going to be really sad about. But yeah, those are the 4 that like out of all of the ones I have, I'm the most excited for. But yeah, also, if anybody knows the answer to this, does anybody know when Burn of the Everflame is coming out? Because I need to know, because I'm actually scared to finish Heat of the Everflame and have like nothing to go to for like a couple of years, because I know that Heat of the Everflame was published in like September 2023. Pen Cole, bestie Pen Cole, who I can't believe now follows me on TikTok. Love her so much. Bestie Pen, what's happening? / can I please arc read Burn of the Everflame? Alrighty. I guess we're just gonna have this little ice cream moment for most of this video, but that's okay. Question number 8 is a bookish goal for 2025. I have 3. And I sort of talked about this a little bit in my like end of year book tag sort of reading wrap up thing. So the first like goal that I have is I want to read all the books from my TBR first. Now I think that's like something that a lot of people do, obviously like wanting to prioritize their TBR. I have books on my physical TBR, which is that far shelf over there. I have books sitting on my TBR that have been on there for like 3 years. I want to read those books so bad, not only because obviously they've been sitting there for a long time, but there could just be these like hidden gems sitting on my shelf that I'm putting away in preference of like reading new releases, which I need to stop doing. I want to read these like oldie but goodie books so badly. My second like bookish goal that I have, I sort of mentioned this when I was doing my shelves. I don't have any more room anymore. Like the shelves that I now have, the brand new shelves, I love them with everything that I am. There's now like, we're at max capacity, like there's no more room on the shelves. So the rule or the goal that I'm like setting myself is when I read a physical book off my TBR and say for instance I don't enjoy it and I will unhaul it, when a spot opens up on my shelf I can buy myself a new book, okay? But I have to read the book first. It can't just be like I'm unhauling these books because I don't think I'm going to read them. If I read a book, so like for instance I read Set on You, I don't know where that ended up, don't like it, it was awful, I DNF'd it, that is now an open spot on my shelf because I'm now unhauling that book. So there's a spot for a new book, you know what I mean? So that's the rule, and I think it will slow down my book buying process because, you know, I could still read like 6 books off the TBR and love them and they're going to stay on the shelf, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good goal. And then my third goal is, as I was mentioning, I want to read what I want. I don't care how much. So like I said, that's how we avoid things like reading slumps and like actually getting good quality reads and books that I can actually recommend to you guys. I am purely going to reach for what I want this year. Like I know that obviously there are a lot of new releases and things like that. And obviously sometimes you guys will be like, can you please read this? Can you please read this? Of course I'll get to those books in time, but I need to, like, when I'm choosing books for the month or what I want to read next, I have to want to read that book. If I like force myself to read a book that I'm not in the mood for, that's how we end up with bad like ratings and like thoughts on the book. You know what I mean? That being said, question number 9 is a book that's been on your TBR that you probably won't ever read. And I think we all have those books that sometimes we'll just buy for the cover or because we saw it on social media and it's really popular, but we don't actually know what it's about, or if we have the desire to read it, we've just sort of like impulse bought that book. And there are 3 books that I'm going to show you guys that I've just had sitting for ages that I think I've now, like, my reading style and like taste has changed and I don't think I'll reach for them. So the first one is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This is now a TV show, I'm pretty sure, but I just don't see myself wanting to read this. I think this is like from an era, like I always sort of talk about, like The Hating Game and The Spanish Love Deception and things like that, where I feel like I've now evolved, like my reading taste has grown past that I don't know if I will enjoy it as much. And then the other 2 books I have are by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and I don't know why. Like I said, I think I've grown past this author and like this stage of reading, and it's actually hilarious because one of these I've put on my 25 books for 2025 and that's embarrassing. Anyway, it's The X Talk and Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Just 2 books that I've never wanted to reach for, but this one I've said I have to read this year. I put it on my 25 for 2025. That video is coming later in the week, so you guys will see all the books on that list. But I don't know, again, I just feel like I've grown out of these types of books and I don't really have the desire to read them. Question number 10, is a series that you want to read this year. So other than like Throne of Glass that I was saying and like Boys of Tobin and things like that, there's 2 that I've got here. One is a series that I want to start this year. I'm sort of pulling back on new series that I'm starting this year because I made the mistake last year of starting all of these new series and not completing many. So I'm pulling back on how many new ones I start and focusing on ones that I've already started or I'm in the middle of. So the book series that I know that I definitely want to start this year, and it's probably the only one other than Boys of Tobin that I want to start, is the Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. And this one's just really popular. Like obviously I saw these floating around when there were still like shirtless men on the covers, and everybody just says that like if you love Windy City you'll love this series too. I know it's all ice hockey, I believe, this series though, but I just feel like it's something that I have to read and I really want to read. And then a priority series that I really want to finish this year is the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. So I've read the first 2 books, so Off to the Races and Out of the Gate. Out of the Gate's like a little novella, but I've read those 2. I have all of the beautiful like indie covers. That's how long ago I bought them. Actually, I think I was gifted these, which was really nice as well. But I really want to read it because obviously I'm a massive Elsie Silver fan and I feel like I just want to get through all of her backlog. So again, my bread and butter. Why have I not finished it yet? I don't know. You know it's good ice cream when it's this hot. Like, what is the temperature right now? It's like 27 degrees. It's hot. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'll put it on the screen. And the ice cream's not melted. That's how you know it's good soft serve. Question number 11 is your auto buy authors going into 2025. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If any 6 of these incredible authors write a book, I'm there. I don't even need to know what it's about. I don't need to know the genre, the tropes, the background. I'm buying it. Like, it's coming home with me. And I'll break my book buying ban for these girls, okay? Obviously, number 1 is Elsie Silver. I sort of already touched on this already. I will read anything that she writes because, as I said, she's an author who has never, ever, ever disappointed me. Is this leaking? Not one of her books has been below like 4.25 stars. Like, that's how good her books are. Then we have Morgan Elizabeth, who is a new addition going into 2025. I've read 3 of her books now and they are just so funny. If you want a rom-com palette cleanser that is actually good quality and is not cringy and is spicy and is good and is like chef's kiss, read her books. I've loved them. They are just, yeah, they're immaculate. Following that, we have Anna Hong, because obviously my queen, the love of my life, Anna Hong. I still love all her books. I know some people think they're hit and miss. I've loved all her books. I've had, except for Twisted Hate. But everybody has their opinion on that book and it's whatever. I'm sure my opinion would probably change, like, if I had read that book now, because I've now read books where men in them do much more questionable things than what Josh did. Again, would read her grocery list. I then have Paisley Hope, who, as I was saying, is the author of the Silver Pine series. Love her writing. I think her debut novel was just so strong as well. I don't think I've ever given a debut novel 5 stars. Like, it was so stinking good. All the books are so strong. The way she writes spice is crazy. You guys need to get on that series. Obviously, Ali Hazelwood is another one, especially for me and one of my besties in real life, Bridie. She's like an auto-buy author. Like, as I said, we'll read anything. We'll read her grocery list. All of her books are just fun. And if you guys don't get it, you don't get it. That's okay. And finally, I have H.D. Carlton. Again, I'm so excited for what she has coming up. I truly admire her as an author as well, because she just recently made a post, if you guys do follow her, where she said she's just going to be writing books that she wants to write. And I think that's so important. And I admire her so much, because I feel like a lot of authors nowadays are falling into this trap that they are purely writing to get, you know, money, and like they're under a lot of pressure to get books out really fast, or writing books that maybe they're not that passionate about because they're in high demand. Whereas I feel like authors who actually take the time, write a book that they believe is good, that they are really passionate about and really enjoy writing, is so much more admirable to me personally. So that's why I love HD. Question number 12 is kind of a tricky one for this year. It's a book to show / screen adaptation you're excited about for this year. And this was really hard because, guys, I actually don't know too many, or like any really, book to screen adaptations that have been confirmed for this year. 2024 was a great year for screen adaptations. We obviously had like Bridgerton, and we had Heartstopper, and we had It Ends With Us, and I'm sure there's many more that I'm missing. But it was a great year for book to screen adaptations. But I did a little like Google search this morning when I was like, you know, answering all these questions. And I think the one that I'm obviously like the most excited for, and this might be cheating a little bit, but I really don't care, is Wicked Part 2, Wicked for Good. I'm obviously like the biggest Wicked fan ever, like long before like little 12-year-old Belle was going to watch Wicked on YouTube, the slime tutorials, because it's like my favorite thing, and I'm a theater nerd through and through. I feel like the second half of this movie is going to destroy me and so many people, and it's just, yeah, I'm not prepared. I don't think anybody's prepared for the back end of this film. Okay, question number 13 is a sequel that you're anticipating this year. And as I said, I've got like my little spread here in my book journal of all the anticipated releases, but none of them are sequels. They're all like a third book in a series, or a fourth book, or a fifth book in a series. So I decided to sort of, I guess, take a little bit of a spin on it, and I've decided to do a prequel because it's sort of within that realm, right? So the one that I'm the most excited for this year is Phantom by H.D. Carlton, as I was sort of saying. So for those who are unfamiliar, this is going to be a prequel book to the cat and mouse duet. So if you guys have read, especially Haunting Adeline, because this is like very prevalent in that book, Haunting Adeline follows Adeline, who inherits this mansion, or like old Victorian home, from her great-grandmother Gigi. Like when she moves in, she ends up finding like a hole in the wall, and she finds her grandmother's diary, like Gigi's diary, and she starts to realize that her grandmother had a stalker, and it's a stalker that she fell in love with. And if you've read Cat and Mouse Duet, you know the premise of that is that history sort of repeating itself. But Phantom is going to be that story about Gigi and the stalker that she fell in love with and things like that. So it's called Phantom, and I'm so excited for this because I think that it's such an interesting story to tell, because I just want to know more, and I want to know more about Gigi, and I think it's Ronaldo from memory, and I'm so excited. That comes out in a few days, I think tomorrow actually, as I'm filming this, so I'm very excited. It's going to be part of a reading vlog that I'm doing this month, you guys. I am reading like January anticipated releases, new releases, so keep an eye out for that. That's going to be in there, as well as Onyx Storm, Deep End, and things like that too, so keep an eye out for that. Question number 14 is bookish things you're leaving in 2024. Now, I actually made an entire video dedicated to this, and it blew up. I think that video now has like 50,000 views, so thank you guys so much. I think it like started a little like trend on TikTok as well, but I made a whole video. If you guys want to go and check that out, I'll link it in the description box. But I basically went through like an entire list. I had my own things I'm leaving behind. I also asked you guys over on my Instagram things you wanted to leave behind in 2024 as well. But the biggest sort of thing that I'm going to say that we need to like leave behind is like quote spoilers and name spoilers, and also just like not pre-warning people that you're about to give a spoiler. Like it really drives me nuts. I feel like out of any other thing is like people giving especially like, I mean, look, who knows what's going on with TikTok, but you know, I see it the most on TikTok where people will just like give quote spoilers, or they'll give like, especially if you're reading like a long fantasy series, they'll give like name change spoilers and like all these things without even, and oh, I don't even want to get into it, you guys, okay? Because there was another one I said about using like the graphic audios like to reel people in, but the bits in the audiobooks that they will like use are massive spoilers, and I just can't. Spoilers need to stay away. We're reading books, guys. This is not the place. We are just girls. We want to have an enjoyable reading experience because quotes can ruin people's reading experiences. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. Go watch the video. Question number 15 is what to expect from my account this year, because I just have so many exciting videos planned and ideas planned. But if you guys are new, especially if you're new, or if you've been, you know, following me and subscribed to me for a while, here's what's coming this year and what to expect from me from this year. So first of all, I do post 2 videos every single week. So in Australia, I post them on a Tuesday and a Saturday. So I think that's a Monday and a Friday for the people in the Northern Hemisphere. So I post 2 videos in a week. So I post one at the beginning of the week and the end of the week. So make sure you guys are, you know, subscribed and got your little bells on, notifications on for that, so that you can get notified for them. 2 videos a week. There'll be 3 vlogs each month. So they'll all be sort of like some form of them. I try to do at least 1 reading vlog a month, and then the rest will be some other form of vlog. So whether that's if I'm going to do bookish stuff, or if I'm book shopping, or if I'm going to a midnight release party, as I was saying to you guys, I'll video that as well. But other than that, like the types of videos you guys are going to get from me, as you know, we do bookshelf rearranging, we do chaotic 24-hour reading challenges, we do TBR videos, we do tags, we do bookish opinions, like we will do like series reading vlogs and things like that. Like there are so many. We'll do fun little like TBR challenges, or like as I originated the reread, rewrite or burn. I did again originate that, and everyone just decided to steal it from me, but it's okay. So it's some very exciting things coming this year, and I'm just so excited for you guys to see them. So if you want a place for all central like bookish content, I'm your gal. Question number 16 is such a good one, and it is, how has your reading taste evolved from last year? So the first little like point that I made here is that my tolerance for certain things in books has changed. So I did sort of say to you guys a little bit last year that I'm very, very, very open to DNFing books now, because I feel like, as I mentioned, my tolerance for certain things, I just won't take it. Like I won't, if I'm not enjoying a book, I'm not gonna finish it. Like I sort of always explain it in the way, like if you were watching a TV show or like a movie that you really were not enjoying, like would you continue watching the show? No. Like would you push through it just to see what happens? Probably not. I feel like it's the same with reading. Now I always give books at least to the halfway point before I DNF the book, unless something like outrageously, you know, offensive happens that I find offensive, then I'll DNF it. But if a book, like if I'm really not interested in a book and I'm struggling to read it and we get to the halfway point, then I'm done, you know. And I think I'm able to form enough of an opinion to know if I'm going to enjoy the book or not. The second point, as I mentioned, was like reading more romantasy. I really like know that that's something that I love to read now, as well as romance. So I just want to, yeah, I love it. All I want to do, I'm filming this video for you guys, and all I want to do is be on my Kindle. Like I love you guys so much, but all I want to do is be on my Kindle. Like, you know what I mean? And the third one here is my reading taste is definitely more adult now. Definitely feel as though adult romance is like where my sweet spot is. I really enjoy it. I feel like because I'm obviously like 24 now, I like relate to that very deeply and I can connect with the characters. But I find, especially last year, a lot of strictly young adult books that I was reading, especially if they're set in like a high school, or the kids are like the characters are really like immature, I really don't enjoy those books because I feel like I can't connect with them. The exception to that is obviously something like Heartstopper. I love Heartstopper because it actually is so mature for a young adult series and it's so informative, but I really struggle with young adult. That being said, young adult romantasy and young adult dystopian, I adore because those characters are mature. Do you know what I mean? Like they might not be adults, but I feel like to handle yourself in a situation where you're in like a romantic fantasy element, like you need to be switched on. And same with the dystopian. Like I think about something like Shatter Me, which I really was so surprised that I enjoyed because I fully thought I had grown out of those types of books. I adored because all the characters had their head screwed on somewhat, right? And then same with things like, you know, Divine Rivals and Kara more of all, the characters I can relate to because they are actually like mature and they're not kiddie. That's how I feel my reading taste has changed. Question number 17 is booktube creators who inspire you, which is a really fun question, also a hard question because I watch so many, and I especially have been loving in this last year just like supporting my fellow Aussie like booktube and bookish creators, because I think, you know, while we've got some very, very popular, you know, bookish creators, I think it's also special as well to like shout out some of the girls who are lesser known but have such incredible content. Obviously, like my big three like big inspirations are Larry, Des, and Sarah. I think their videos are so consistent, they're interesting, they're engaging. I just love them. I'll always have them on in the background, especially Larry. Larry, I feel like we are like the closest in terms of like personality. I feel like I just vibe with her so much. Yeah, so those three girls definitely like big inspo from them. But also like in terms of my Aussie gals, we've got Emily, we have Freya, and we also have Molly. These are three girls that I do have a nice friendship with over on TikTok, but they've now obviously come across to booktube, and it's so lovely to see because the videos that they make are so fun and engaging. So if you guys are looking for some fresh faces on booktube, I definitely recommend these three gals here. And the final question that I have today is something you want to say to anybody who wants to start a bookish account. And I get this question a lot on all of my social media platforms, and I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give you guys is just start. You don't need any fancy equipment, you don't need a huge setup, you don't need this, that, and the other. If you have a camera, so whether that be your phone, whether that be the camera that like I have now, whatever, if you have a camera, a little place to set it, and you know, a passion for what you're doing, just start making videos. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you know, I'm so scared of what my friends and family will think. It's like, the way I think about it is I started making videos because I read the Bridgerton series and I had nobody to talk to about it. So I needed to tell somebody, and I had to because it was going to burst out of me. So I literally went on TikTok, made that video, right? And it just like went from there because I was so passionate about it. And I think if you have a passion, if you're doing one of these two things, if you're making the videos for yourself because you love reading so much, and B, if you want to share your thoughts and your opinions of books on the internet, that's the right reason to be doing this. You know what I mean? That's an incredible reason to make an account. There's no right or wrong. I know a lot of people will say like, what kind of videos should I do? What's this, what's that, and the other? Just do what feels right. And of course, like go and take inspiration from other creators who you see. We all do share and swap ideas, and we obviously give credit. I always just say, if you're thinking about it and you're worried about what your friends and family are gonna think, don't worry about it. Because if you are passionate about it and it's something that you really want to do, don't let anybody's like thoughts or feelings or opinions like make you second guess that. You know, don't worry about what they're gonna think. Do it for yourself. Because I didn't think this was going to be my job. Like I said to you guys, and I've said it a few times, like I was studying to do a Bachelor of Primary Education and I sing. I always sort of thought that they would be one of the two, like, you know, alleys that I would go down for life. Like I thought I would definitely be doing musical theatre, or I thought I would be doing teaching, like either or. And there's just literally so much opportunity, and I'm very lucky that I've been able to do this. But you know, just posting a video, you have no idea where it's gonna go. So my big sort of piece of advice is you don't know unless you try. And you don't know until you give it a go. And sometimes you just have to take the leap, and you will find people who will love and support you. You will make so many friends, and that is the best part about being a bookish creator. You find amazing people, you connect with so many people, you obviously get some amazing recommendations, you share your thoughts, and it's just fun. My last piece of advice as well is to be yourself. I think, like, I know that's so cliche, but I truly think to set yourself apart as a bookish creator, don't follow the crowds, because the people who make a mark are the people who have like striking opinions and who differ, right? Like I'll be the first, like all of my videos that do really well, especially on like TikTok, are videos where I'm like challenging the status quo, where I'm like, I didn't like this book, it was awful, and here's why. Because I think, like, don't be afraid to like be bold and say you didn't like something, you know what I mean? Or scream your head off about a book that you love that isn't popular, you know what I mean? Like that is what's going to set you apart. That's how people are going to get to know you. And also people connect with like a personality, right? So if you're honest and you're yourself, Like, that's literally all you need to do. Alrighty, you guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for sticking through all the way to the end. If you did, I really, really appreciate it. If you guys have a go at any of these like bookish, beginning of the year questions, let me know. I would love to know like what your most anticipated releases for this year, or like what is a book that you are absolutely going to read this year. Like, this is like, I'm so excited to read this book. Like, what is that book? I want to know. As always, you guys, if you aren't already, you are more than welcome to follow me on TikTok and on Instagram. I'll leave my handles on the screen and in the description box. Look, I don't know how much longer we're going to have this one for the US gals, but for the rest of us, go enjoy. And of course, if you guys would like to, you're more than welcome to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you're hitting that notification bell, the way you're notified each time a brand new video goes up. As I mentioned, you guys, the next video coming out on the channel is going to be my 25 books that I want to read in 2025, and that one is going to be coming out later in the week. So as I said, make sure you subscribe for that one. Thank you guys so much for stopping by again. I really, really appreciate it. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a lovely day or a lovely night, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.